This is WMNF Tampa. Stay tuned for a pre-recorded Surly Voices.
Is how it treats its women and girls.
Buckle up, buttercups. It's another episode of Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. My name is Liz. I am one of your hosts. And joining me is Maria. How are you, Maria?
I'm great, Liz. How are you doing? It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. This episode is going to be a bit different from prior episodes because we're pre-recording it. So unfortunately, we're unable to take phone calls, but I think most listeners are going to enjoy the show regardless. So I'm going to play the clip where I read the email, and then we'll get into the discussion. It says, at this moment of crisis in our country, it is so disturbing to me that instead of taking a stand toward problem solving and listening and coming up with solutions and working for a coalition, your language is divisive. Your perspective is destructive rather than constructive. And as I have said many times before, you and people who think like you are one of the reasons we are in the situation right now. We need to bring people together. Now you can put that down all you want and say that I'm ridiculous, but the truth is there is no other solution other than for people to come together to address this horrible, murderous, diabolical, tyrannical MAGA regime. It is past the time for the cannibalization of the left to stop destroying each other and to start building together to counter the destruction of our Constitution and our democracy. Your language matters. The way you talk about things matters.
Here's the thing, right? There is a lot of assumption in that comment. And I'm really happy that, we give her like busy work, quite frankly, because she really doesn't know what we know. And she thinks that like we spend our days or spend our weeks looking forward to coming in on a Thursday morning just to drag the Democratic Party, when the reality of it is that we're in a relationship, right? And it is our job to make it better, right? And the reality of it is that I go out every day and I talk to people. You go out every day and you talk to people, and we have lived experiences that we come in here and we share. And we have, including Donna, over 50 years of political experience when we come and we sit in this space, right?
Right.
Nobody's coming to save us. And at the end of the day, what we share on this platform is the information that we glean from the conversations and the experiences we have literally doing this work and talking to people in the community, right? If you are one of those people so fixated on vote blue no matter who, this isn't the space for you. It's really that simple, right? The reality of it is that people want relief. People want confidence in an idea that we are going to make their lives better, that our policies and our ideas, the people that we vote for and represent, are going to make our lives better. And if they're not, they should be held accountable. I'm not here to be a cheerleading squad for any elected politician or their servants. I'm just not doing it. None of us, that they work for us. How many times?
Exactly.
And every single encounter should be a performance review.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. It should be. And I've never been a believer in blind loyalty
That's
to
and
anybody.
if we were, we'd be Republicans.
Right. She doesn't send emails when we are critical of Trump, but that's radio silence there. But as soon as we say anything about any Democrat, she just goes off the rails. And so that's one of the reasons that we're going to discuss some of the things that we're going to discuss today, is because this is what you don't understand, Mary. We are at the mercy of people who are sitting up in DC doing absolutely nothing. We're in day one of the shutdown here. It's been a long time. But nobody's doing anything to create movement and get things done. And the reason that we're in a shutdown is because the Republicans don't want to create a situation where Congress is back in session and maybe some of the folks they can no longer control on their side are going to join up with whoever from the Democrats votes to. It's all about the Epstein files, in other words. It's not about, Trump's gazillion-dollar ballroom sponsored by all these companies. They ought to make it like a NASCAR and put the sponsors all around it.
Don't give him any more ideas.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why we're pre-recording this show today, because we can't be live. And we do want to address what Mary says and explain to her that we're not a cheerleading squad. We are holding folks accountable. And that's
at the same time, she should be very flattered that she gets all of this attention.
Let me speak to the manager.
Right.
From past conversations with Mary, we have gleaned that she is a second wave feminist. And a lot of people don't understand the distinctions. And it's important. Yes, it's putting a label on you, but big deal. People get labels put on them every day. But it's important because it reflects what her mindset is. She's of the generation in the second wave. Well, let's start with a primer, a very basic primer on feminism. Back in like the suffragette days, you had white women trying to get the vote, as well as black women who were trying to get the vote. I don't know if, Maria, have you ever watched The Gilded Age?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so you see a perfect example there of first wave feminism, because you have the white folks who are, talking about it and having teas and stuff like that. And the black folks are doing the same thing. And historically, the black women who've participated in getting equal rights for women, they're tolerated at best, and they're discarded at worst. And so white women, use the labor of black women to get what they want, and then they when time comes to get what we're all looking at, they get tossed aside or are relegated to the back rooms. And so that would be an example of the first wave feminists. And then the second wave feminists come up in the 60s when we were trying to get equal pay and pass the ERA and all that stuff. Because, in the early 70s, or up until the early 70s, women couldn't have their own credit cards it had to be in their husband's name or
Women couldn't
husband
wear
jointly.
pants to work. Women couldn't buy their own homes.
Yep, exactly.
Women could not get divorced. Women
And so-
could not have their husbands arrested for sexual assault.
And in some places it's going backwards. It's like, that's the oh, we're not going to punish people for little mistakes. That's one of the little mistakes that they're talking about is spousal sexual abuse. So, bear that in mind. An example from that time period would be, okay, everybody knows Gloria Steinem. Gloria Steinem. That's, probably, if I had to venture a guess, I would say it's somebody that Mary looks up to and reveres, for lack of a better word. So at the same time that you have Gloria Steinem, you have Angela Davis. You don't hear any or very much of anything about Angela Davis in comparison. And then a good TV show for this, I make references to TV shows when I'm talking to people about things that are kind of a foreign concept to them, because I find it helpful. Anyway, in the TV show Mrs. America, it was like a 7 or 8
I
episode.
remember that. Yep.
Yeah.
And it was the irony of Phyllis Schlafly,
Right.
advocating for being a trad wife when she was literally
Anything but.
like everything she was fighting against afforded her the opportunity to do what she was doing. It was crazy to me.
Yeah. And so Angela Davis is in Mrs. America, as well as Shirley Chisholm. And Shirley Chisholm, I mean, great historical figure. I can remember, this is kind of giving away how old I am. My grandmother used to watch like Face the Nation and all that every Sunday. And she raved about Shirley Chisholm, how awesome she was and what a great speaker, and you need to watch it and stuff like that. And so you look, if in the series Mrs. America, when you look at, they went to the convention to see who they're going to nominate. Now, Shirley Chisholm was running for president, or was wanting to run for president. She needed the endorsement of the white women. And instead of endorsing Shirley Chisholm, they pretty much told her to, let's wait it out and maybe next time, and placating her like that. Well, it was infuriating to me, because it's like, wait, you're just going to toss her aside and endorse the candidate that the party wants you to endorse. And that's exactly what they did. And so it's like, that is another example of Black women doing the work, being totally equipped to do the thing, and yet getting cast aside because the white women
people like Mary are saying we're not doing it right.
Right.
When
Exactly.
people like Mary refuse to listen to what we're saying, right? Mary, if you want to win an election ever again, I suggest you get from behind your keyboard and go out there and talk to some people that don't agree with you.
And
learn how to do a little bit of self-reflection about how we got here.
Exactly. So that's an example of the second wave and how Black women got tossed aside. In the third wave, which comes about with the Clarence Thomas confirmation hearings, guess who was the chair of the committee running the hearings? And people who've heard me talk about this before know who it is. It's Joe Biden. And this was where my extreme ire regarding Joe Biden comes into play. He's running this hearing, and Clarence Thomas, and there are so many great shows about this time period. I can't even bring one to mind, but I can certainly post it later. Clarence Thomas here was the other insult. George Bush had appointed him to replace Thurgood Marshall, who was the first Black person on the Supreme Court, who was a fabulous justice who did all kinds of civil rights litigation before he ever came to the Supreme Court. And then here's Clarence Thomas, who has worked at the EEOC for most of his career, who was brought up in a rural area of Georgia and raised by his grandparents, and was poor, and is literally a shapeshifter because he at one point started out as on the side of Black militants, and then just morphed on into what you see today. And so at the hearing, Clarence Thomas seemed to be sailing along, and then Joe Biden comes along and says, "Oh, we have a witness. Her name is Anita Hill." Now, Anita Hill is a Black woman. Today she's a professor of law. At the time, she was an attorney who had worked with Clarence Thomas at the EEOC. And she proceeds to tell them, how nasty Clarence Thomas was in real life, and all hell broke loose. And what most people don't know is Joe Biden had at least 2 more witnesses in the wings to testify. But then the Republicans started, accusing Biden of racism, and Clarence Thomas did it himself. And then all of a sudden he folds like a house of cards. And now today we have Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court. Anita Hill gets cast aside, and she is, I think, the strongest example of how the Democrats use Black women until it's no longer convenient for them. And then, see you later. Bye. And that's the history that we're looking at. And those are all real-time examples of Black women who were doing the work, who wanted to be included, who wanted to make change, and got cast aside. And so now, present day, we are intersectional feminists. We are 4th wave feminists. We are not 2nd wave feminists. We don't believe in casting anybody aside, particularly Black women, because Black women deserve a space to lead. And I don't care who you name. There are no white folks that I can think of top of mind who are better equipped than the Black women who have been organizing, who have been doing things. Our own Donna has organized so many huge, awesome protests
Successfully. We
did a protest a few years ago from Fred Ball all the way back around, and there is actual helicopter footage of the march. It was like 5,000 people had gone and practiced how to march because it was that tight. It was absolutely amazing. The news anchor who was reporting on it said this is the biggest and best organized protest we have ever seen. And it was true because it was like running like a clock. It was awesome. And I don't know a single white person who could do that. So it's like, instead of saying we all need to come together, and here's an honest moment.
But when she says that, though, we all need to come together. She's really saying it's an incomplete sentence for her. She wants us to all come together and do it her way,
Yes, exactly.
right? Why can't you just do what I tell you to do?
Right. Because,
Right. Because we're free. For right now, the East Wing might be destroyed, but we're free still for now.
Yeah, for now. And we not only includes Maria, but after they get done with chaining Maria up, guess who they're coming for next? Mary, you and me. So yes, I understand the thought process, because when I was a third wave feminist and then became a fourth wave feminist, and in the process, I still had the old ideas. Oh, why can't we go agree on this point, guys? We all need to come along. And the Black women were like, "Are you crazy?" More or less, that's the message I got. And I said to myself, why? And then it's exactly what Maria's talking about. Here I was, didn't know squat about organizing or anything, and I was trying to advance my ideas. And I was talking to, PhDs in the subject. And of course they're going to say, no, we're not going to come together. We can do it our way. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. How hard is that? For some people, it's very hard. So that is why we have said the things we've said. We're not here to promote the Democratic Party. We're here to place accountability wherever it belongs. It belongs with Trump, absolutely. She doesn't complain when we hear that. But it also belongs with the Democratic Party, because the problems didn't just start here recently. The problems have been going on for a very, very, very long time. With complicity. Yes.
Right? Like, exactly. And here we are, more than 24 days into this shutdown, and people can't eat, right? People are losing their SNAP benefits. And quite frankly, the reality of it is that the people who are actually going to suffer are not the people that you want to suffer. MAGA people. You know what I mean? It's right. Going to be those people in Kentucky. It's going to be the people in West Virginia. It is going to be predominantly white people who are on SNAP benefits. It's going to be our military families that are not going to be able to afford to eat, right? And and when you pull away from that, we would not be in this mess right now if for decades now we centered the people in our communities over special interest groups. Yes. We centered the banks in 2008 during the failure, and we bailed out banks rather than people, right? And once the banks were bailed out, they were still carting people out of their homes due to foreclosures and some subprime mortgages.
And that was Obama.
And we had the opportunity to create whole systems and rethink whole entire systems in ways that that everybody was going to be okay. And we failed to do that. And here again, 24 days into a shutdown, people's SNAP benefits, TSA workers are working without paychecks. You got a guy who is close to Trump donated $130 million so that the military could get paid, nobody else. And we don't know what the next paycheck is going to look like, right?
Well, and $130 million wasn't even enough to cover everybody
Right.
that needed
But
it.
we're
Yeah.
in this place. Why? Because we're trying to subsidize a failed healthcare system all over again, right? It's not enough that you take every single, you set the table, and we talk about people having a seat at the table, but the guy at the other side of the table, it's not enough that he takes every single thing that's on the serving platter. You want him to take your chair, your cutlery, everything else right along with it.
Right. And then it's like, wait, they don't think, they hear SNAP benefits and they think, the old stereotype of the welfare queen and stuff. Elderly people are on SNAP. Children, all this talk about, all the children.
Okay,
Yeah.
it may be difficult for this to sit with Mary and a few other people, but I actually do community work, which is why I see these things and I feel the way I feel. But what I always tell these elected officials, because I want them to be held accountable, charity is no substitute for justice.
Amen. Yeah.
Right? Charity is no substitute for justice. And here we are, right? And I've said this before. This was when I first came on this program. We have a food bank here, and everybody was cheering because Steven Schwartzman gave this food bank $2 million to feed the hungry. $2 million to Steven Schwartzman is like $20 to you and me.
Right.
Right. Meanwhile, Steven Schwartzman is the head of BlackRock and is buying up entire community developments all across this state and forcing the price of rent to go up for people and forcing the price of housing in this state to go up. And nobody's looking at these things critically because they're all cheering this guy who basically said, let them eat cake. Here's a slice. Right. You guys figure out how to divide it up amongst yourselves.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm not supposed to criticize that?
Right. And you see it over and over again that, these billionaires, gazillionaires who drop, a few $1 million here and there. Oh, what a wonderful philanthropist. Well, A, they're not paying taxes like the rest of us do. And B, they can certainly use it for deduction. And it's like, why are you lionizing these people? Jeff Bezos should be, earning.
Here's the other thing that is so nefarious about this whole thing, right? Because to me, it's kind of crazy. And I've said this before, like this is a moment in which we should not be fighting for subsidies for a failed healthcare system. We should be fighting for universal healthcare, period.
Exactly.
Because we got here because we lacked the spine. We had the votes. We lacked the spine because the industry was paying special interest lobbyists that they were paying off, buying off our elected officials. We had them. We had a veto-proof majority. We could have just said, F you, we got this, right? We are down this road now because no good was going to come of it, right? We kicked the can down the road, as if this terminally ill John McCain was going to live forever with the thumbs down, that once he put his thumb down, that we would never have to revisit this again. It's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
They did what they wanted to do because they stood committed to this thing, and we cannot give people health care as a result. Why do you think we lost the election? Because people saw us and said they lacked the will to do right by me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They want to
Right.
play both sides. We want to play, we want to protect corporate interests and lower the price of eggs maybe a little bit, right? You got none of that now, granted.
Right.
But how many people were with us when we were fighting for universal health care? Because if everybody stopped saying, "Oh, we can't afford it, we can't afford it," you know what we can't afford? We can't afford 2 private jets for DHS. We can't afford a 90,000 square foot ballroom. We can't afford a lot of things, but we managed to find the money for them. Imagine what an infusion of stimulus it would be if people had universal health care and didn't have to tether their lives to a miserable job just because they had health care.
Thank you. Yes. And if you think you're miserable in your job and you want to leave, then the only way you can get health coverage is through COBRA, which costs as much.
Nobody can afford it. Nobody can afford it. And then, but the thing about it is, we talk about these subsidies for the exchange as if they are giveaway money. You have to pay taxes on that money.
Yeah. Nobody talks about
the federal government considers it income. So if you qualify for a subsidy for being on the exchange, let's say you're barely making it, and you know that you have to get health care. Your job doesn't cover health care. You still have to pay whatever they subsidize you. You still have to pay income tax on that, as if you got the money in your pocket.
Right. Right. It's nobody's getting anything for free, and that's what you hear from the Republican side a lot. Oh, we're not going to, give you. And then when they talk about Social Security as if it were some kind of subsidy, it's like, we've all put into Social Security. We deserve to get money out of it.
But here's the other thing about Social Security, though, is that you and I pay as much into Social Security as the CEO of any company, right? Because there's a cap on the amount of salary. And to me, as far as I'm concerned, that's regressive, right?
Yeah.
There's a cap on how much you pay into, like, anything above $172,000 a year, I think it is right now. You don't have to pay into Social Security on, right? So so how is that not punishing low wage workers? Right. And there's no question about the solvency of Social Security if you remove the cap.
Thank you. Yes. Why isn't Jeff Bezos paying a gazillion dollars a year into Social Security? It's like you said, the politicians have become so concerned about catering to special interest groups, lobbyists, corporations. I mean, it's blatantly obvious today when you've got this NASCAR ballroom, It's like,
and the thing about it is that, I remember years ago when Republicans were fighting Democrats in office, they were like, oh, well, your children are going to have to pay the price. Your children are going to have to pay the price. Well, guess what? Your children are paying the price.
Yeah.
Right? Your children are bogged down with student loan debt that they can't afford to pay back. Institutionalized by policies put in place by one of your favorite people, Mr. Biden. Right? That an entire usury structure of student loan debt.
Right.
They can't afford to pay it back. They can't afford to buy a house. All of the things that we talked about 15, 20 years ago about your kids are going to have to pay this bill, we're there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're there.
And everybody seems to conveniently forget those conversations back when. So there's no reason we shouldn't have universal health care. And the reason we don't is because the health insurance companies would not like that, because they make money off of people being sick. So it's okay. We're the only industrialized nation that does not have universal health care. If France, England, Canada, if all those folks can figure out how to do it, what does it say about us that we can't? It says we like money more than we like people. There's no other excuse for it. And then you talk to people, well, that's a good idea, but I want to have, the gold-plated, insurance. Well, you can get that in the system. You just pay more for it. But everybody, healthcare is a human right. And to use healthcare as like a luxury item is just so outrageous to me. I don't even have the words for how outrageous it is. Because what happens when people do not have access to healthcare is they wait until they can't wait anymore, and then they go to the emergency room. And then guess what happens? They can't pay.
More. It costs more. It's like your car.
Right. Exactly.
It's like your
Sticker
car.
Price.
Right? Like if you don't maintain your car, oil change is what? Oil change and fluid evaluation or whatever is like $100, $120, right?
Right.
Get your tires rotated and whatever. You can, once you buy tires, you can, if you go somewhere reputable, you can get them rotated and aligned for free for the life of the tire, right?
Right.
But if you don't do that and you don't repair your brakes, don't get an oil change. If you don't get an oil change, your engine freezes up. Whole new engines, like $2,000, right? Or you're talking about a whole new car, right?
Yeah.
Don't check your fluids. You could crack your engine block, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly how it works.
And here we are. We are here with a cracked engine block.
Right. Yeah. If you think about it, the Democratic Party used to be the party of the working people. They advocated for the working class. And now they're just as bad as the Republicans. They're not taking care of people. They're taking care of their donors and special interest groups. And those folks don't care about the people. All they care about is making money, because we live in a hyper-capitalistic system. So don't come saying that blue is better than red if you're not prepared to show a difference, because just looking at it on its face, there's really not much difference at all. Except the blue folks aren't storming the Capitol.
Yep.
And getting pardoned.
Yep.
And now we're in a position where we may never see another free election in our lifetime. Because we, and by we, I mean the Democratic Party, because I'm not in the Democratic Party. I said, no mas, I'm out. See ya. But this is how we got in this place. Joe Biden had no business being ever the nominee for president, ever. And I mean ever. He has spent 50 years doing harm to people he should be representing. And when Bernie Sanders was chewing up the scenery and getting all the votes, what does the DNC do? They get Mayo Pete to throw his chances away and huddle up with Biden. So did Amy Klobuchar. And it's like,
you know what, though? A lot of them were problematic. I'm going to say it.
well, that's true. Yeah.
They were all problematic, right?
Yes. Yes.
And, I had a friend this morning. I'm in a group chat with a couple of friends down here, and they're like, we need this person, we need that person, leader of the Democratic Party. No. I said,
Right.
we really need to press pause and reflect on what the people want, right?
Right. Exactly.
Because we're so busy wanting to endorse or deify the next guy,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And we're not listening to what people are really struggling with,
Right.
right? And I feel like, and it's funny because I was going to recommend that people watch. Jamie Harrison has a podcast, not a big fan of his, but this most recent episode has Black women on it, talking about their relationship to the Democratic Party.
Oh.
And and one of my friends is on it, and she said on there, talking to another Black woman, not on the podcast, she said, someone said to me, I feel like I am in a bad marriage.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly,
in an
that's a great
abusive
analogy.
relationship with the
Right.
Democratic Party. We really want to love you, but we also want you to do right by us.
Right.
Right? It's like that scene from The Color Purple.
I was just thinking about that.
Right?
Till you do right by me.
That's right.
Exactly.
And that's why I say, like, these people are problematic.
Right.
The reality of it is, for every Mary that's out there are thousands of Black women. Thousands. Hear me close. Come closer. Thousands of Black women that are willing to compromise for the sake of the greater good. But that's just not good enough for Mary.
Right. So, yeah. And then when we talk about, back to Joe Biden, because that's one of my favorite things to rail about. And I think that's what makes her so mad, or one of the things that makes her mad.
Well, Joe
Yeah, no
Biden was the
business-
compromise, right?
But there should have been no compromise.
I agree.
Yeah.
I 1000% agree. But we, more than anybody, understand the American psyche. That's the issue here.
And so, just here's Joe Biden should never have been president ever, 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 ever. But that ship sailed. So when he got elected in 2000, he was like, okay, I'm only going to be a one-term president. I'm going to stabilize everything. And the center folks were all like, oh, we're saved, and didn't look beyond election day to ensure that they had a good replacement for Joe Biden. Because then what happens? Then and nobody in the world can say that they did not see Joe Biden deteriorating. Because I saw it a good 6 months before.
But that's the problem, right? This is why I have such a problem with Karine Jean-Pierre, right? Don't come out here with your book.
Right.
Don't come out here with your book when you were in a position to take the keys from the drunk driver.
Exactly.
Right?
And same with Kamala Harris. I mean, they put her in the dungeon and wouldn't let her do much of anything except something that was impossible to do. But she should have been screaming from the rafters. This dude, no.
So, I mean, the fact that we do that, that is where we have got to have some real dialogue and reconcile this pattern, because it's not just that Joe Biden was too old. It was all of those advisors that he had around
Yes.
him that were too old, right? And granted, Corinne's young, but what was that woman? The woman who was his spokesperson, like she's been in the Democratic Party for 100 years. Like she's like she worked on the campaign, then she went over to the White House, and then for the re-election campaign she moved back over to. She was the one that helped shape this. Let's put Kamala in the dungeon. Right?
Yes, exactly.
And I'll never forget his first State of the Union address, where she's sitting up there as the president of the Senate in a brown suit, a brown woman in a brown suit, in a brown chair behind a desk in front of a brown drape. I was like, tell me you want her to disappear without telling me you want her to disappear.
Exactly.
That's all I needed to see.
Yeah, that was really obvious. Yeah. And it's like, and then when she finally broke out of the dungeon, when things went off the rails, she didn't do anything different. She didn't do anything to distinguish herself from Biden. It was, oh yeah, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. And it's like, what? Wait, no, you're supposed to be doing something different. What good is it if you're just like a surrogate for Biden, you know?
But that was the other thing though, too, because, and you know, for all of that, the problem that, the big problem that Joe Biden had in the one term he was president, his biggest problem was his failure to communicate. And now here, the person who stands before you on that podium, who is given the one responsibility she had, which was to communicate his accomplishments. She failed to do that. Somehow that's everybody else's problem, and that there was nothing wrong with him.
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding me.
Right.
Well, we could all see it.
Yeah. I'm going to believe
like
I'm
really waiting, because I've seen like 3-4 interviews with her now about this damn book. And I'm really waiting for somebody to have the come to Jesus meeting with her.
Right.
I want her to come on our show.
Ooh, that would be a great get.
Let's have a conversation.
Yeah. Tell us why.
Because at some point somebody has to take the keys out of, like, I had a friend whose great aunt was struggling with dementia, but she felt that she was fine. She was okay. Right?
Oh yeah, they do most of the time. And
right. I got a call one day. She was sitting in a Home Depot, not knowing where she was, and couldn't figure out how to get home. And she lived in West Palm, and she was like a Home Depot, not even around the corner from her, but 45 minutes away. Took my friend out there to go get her aunt and her aunt's car, parked it in her garage, and I took the spark plugs out of it so she couldn't start that bad boy ever again. But at some point, you got to take the spark plugs out of old boy.
Exactly. Yeah. It's amazing to me that the Democrats lost an election to Trump 0.2, Trump 0.2. Yeah. Because it's like, it should have been a blowout. And yet they blame it on everything except the
reality.
Actual cause.
Right.
Right. And it's like, wait, no, let's take account here and see where we went wrong. And there's a lot that could have been done, but wasn't. And now here we are. And
then the fact that it's happening, it's been happening in record time, 100 days in, he blew up everything, and people are calling and asking, what are the Democrats doing? Because I'm scared. right?
Right.
And then we as community have had to take matters into our own hands. We've had to build our own mutual aid networks.
Right.
We've had to share with people resources on knowing their rights. We've had to take matters into our own hands because
Nobody else is going to do it.
the quote unquote leadership is lost and they can't figure out what to say or do.
They're stuck,
Right.
It's like it's like when the wheel spins on the computer,
Right.
It's like thinking.
I say all of this to say, you know what, Mary, you know what's not helpful? You know what's really not helpful? Your lack of introspection. Because we all own a piece of how we got here.
Yeah. No, nobody's hands are clean. I mean, there wasn't much choice, but we all held our noses and voted for Biden.
And didn't just vote. Made phone calls, organized, got recruited volunteers, knocked on doors, all the things, right?
All the things, yes.
Sweat equity affords me all of the critique I want to take.
And and that's how you have to make change. You have to get out if you're able. If you're not able, there are phone banks. Nobody has an excuse to just sit back and let things roll. You have to go knock on doors. You have to say, I want to tell you about this candidate. I did that. I have a friend that I've known for a long time, and I don't agree with him on everything, but he's a good person. He's a good person, and he genuinely cares about his constituents. I don't knock on doors for everybody, but I did it for him because I believe that he would do a good job. And he got elected, and he does exactly what I thought he would do. Although he does kind of, pander to certain elements that I wish he wouldn't, but he does get things done for his constituents. So that's what you have to find people that will do a good job, not just because you like them, but because you know what they're going to do. They're going to do what they promised they would do. And you have to go out and knock doors. Or if you can't walk around and enjoy the lovely Florida weather and knock doors, you can phone canvass. There's so many things you can do, but just going and voting does not move the needle at all.
Yep.
So it's and as far as vote blue no matter who, no. We outlawed that in Surly Feminists for the Revolution a long time ago. When it first started, it was outlawed. And I'm like, no, we're not vote shaming, and we're not saying don't vote. We're not saying vote blue no matter who, because blue might not be the best choice. And we're not going to shame people for picking another choice. So there we are. Any wrap up thoughts?
My wrap up thoughts. Things are about ready to get far worse before they get any better.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. And Mary better figure out a way to put her energy into making those things better, because we're good over here.
Right. Well, and it's not just Mary. I mean, Mary, I think, represents a class of people.
Exactly. Mary is like Karen, right? Karen is a catch-all for people with a certain, I want to talk to the manager attitude, right?
Right.
Mary is becoming the catch-all for it's everybody's fault but my own.
And we all just need to come together.
And we all just need to listen to what she has to say.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for joining us on this special episode pre-recorded of Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. We will be back live next week.